Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm very lucky to be joined by Matt of Blend. How's it going, Matt?
Great. Thank you for having me, Shiv. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, really happy to have you here. And Matt, I would love to just start this off by learning a little bit more about you and a little bit more about Blend.
Sure. So Blend is about 12 years old. We're a creative production agency or a creative production company. I go by either name. And we really are in business in an effort to simplify creative and production for brands. We have been lucky enough to work with a wide variety of brands from small startups all the way through Fortune 50 companies,
Wow.
including Midea America, Porsche North America, Samsung,
Wow.
Mastercard, a whole slew of them, I should say. And yeah, and a lot of ones you haven't heard of either, like B2B companies and B2C.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome. And you guys only focus on the production, you don't focus on the media buying or anything like that?
Yeah, so the production spend is usually the largest spend outside of media buying for brands.
Hmm.
Yet it's usually packaged in convoluted ways. To get world-class creative and production, you usually have to work through an agency who then hires or subcontracts a production company, and you're paying for markup at least 2 to 7 times, depending on who you're with.
Hmm.
I spent the first 18 years of my career working at big holding company owned creative agencies like Goodby Silverstein and Partners, Chiat Day, Young and Rubicam. Uh,
Hmm.
and so I've leveraged that expertise to bring that level of content to brands in a simple and efficient way.
Wow. And speaking of that, having spent two decades in large agencies, and it sounds like you just got frustrated with the waste and inefficiency you observe. What do you see as the core flaws in traditional creative production, and how does Blend address these issues?
It's not so much core flaw. I guess you could say they're core flaws. If you look at the recent work done in the Super Bowl, it was mostly celebrity driven. It was all done by big agencies.
Mm.
And it's done well. They do it very well. I'm not saying they don't, but only a select few of the tippy top brands can afford it. And even then, it's their largest creative production spend of the year. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm.
And so I did start Blend because I was frustrated at the divide between digital and broadcast quality production, and also at the inefficiency. A lot of brands have to spend at least $500,000 to get in on with a big holding company agency where they are spending about 500,000 on strategy and positioning before they even get to the money they're spending on the development of the scripts and then finally the production. And we can do that all very quickly in 4 to 8 weeks from start to finish
Wow.
and at a fraction of the cost. But with brands like most of the brands I work with, it really isn't necessarily all about the money. It's
Yeah.
about efficiency. It's about working directly with decision makers. I
Uh,
work with creative directors, the same creative directors who are freelanced at these big holding company owned agencies. I just do it
mhm.
a lot more efficiently, a lot quicker.
Wow, interesting. On that note, your Blend's mission, rather, is to simplify creative and production services for world-class branded content. So, what does simplify mean to you in practical terms, and how does that philosophy shape your operational approach?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shiv. So we focus on the people and parts of the process that deliver the most value, and we eliminate everything that wastes time, money, and energy. It's that simple. You know,
Mm.
again, when you're working with a large agency, you're going through a pitch process, and the people on the pitch process are the most senior folks. Once that
Mm.
account is awarded, invariably it goes down the line to more mid-level or junior folks, and maybe you have one or two of the senior folks working on it maybe 10 to 15% of their time maximally.
Mm.
I myself work on it along with senior creatives, and we work on it the whole way through until it's done. You know, so
Wow.
I'm a boutique. We do between 10 and 15 jobs a year, not that many. We do
Mhm.
them very well, and we give our clients direct access to the decision makers throughout.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. And it's cool to hear how you blend was shaped by your past success. Hey, this is what I've seen. This is how I want my company to be, right?
Yes, sir. I have what the rich guys call a lifestyle business
Yeah.
because, yes, I was frustrated. By the time I received the brief to go and make the work, the clients had been in house for 6 to 18 months. You
Mm.
know, they had spent their time developing relationships with the senior sales and marketing leaders,
Yeah.
right? So they're spent already by the time they get to you, and you're not the direct relationship. I'm giving the makers, not the strategists, but the makers of the work, direct access to the CMOs, to the VPs of marketing, to the head of advertising, and
Yeah.
allow you to build that relationship more quickly and have
Mhm.
a direct impact on the work.
Wow. Yeah, and I want to talk about the content really quick because when you talk about world-class branded content, what are the key elements that differentiate that from standard content, and how do you ensure those elements are consistently delivered?
Yeah, there's still a divide between really good um, broadcast level content and what you would call digital content that you find online only. Yes, they all mix up in the end, but to answer your question, Shiv, it starts with the writing. It starts with the strategy, it starts with the positioning, and then the writing. You really need a great writers. And I myself am not a writer, I'm a producer, but I
Mhm.
understand the value and I don't pretend to be a creative director. I don't pretend to be the writer, and I don't pretend that it's not critical. You need really talented, experienced, seasoned creative directors and writers on your piece of business who understand the goals, who
Yeah.
understand the strategy, who understand the consumers, and who are working directly with the decision makers at the brand to leverage all of that into content that's entertaining, but also achieving your KPIs.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good point. And I don't know, we're talking about this type of world-class content, I'm actually really curious to hear from your thoughts. In my opinion, the Super Bowl had some pretty forgettable commercials. And I think that what happens when you don't have world-class writing and you don't have a good creative director and you start to rely on celebrities is that you can get away with maybe a subpar commercial because you've got this celebrity kind of carrying it. With all that being said, was there any commercial that stuck out to you this year?
Oh my God. I like so many of them. And I listen, all of those Super Bowl commercials had really talented writers on them. So I'll
Mhm.
defend them for just a second. I think if the work is not your favorite, it's probably because their work was the best parts of their work was changed. But I agree with you. Too often it's focused on the big get of the celebrity only versus the celebrity imbibed with brilliant writing. I liked the Uber Eats stuff. I thought it was really well done. It
Yeah,
wasn't two celebrities sitting on a couch talking to each other. It was well positioned and it was written to their core strengths.
yeah,
But yeah, the world we live in right now is more and more celebrity driven. You have to stand out. It gets eyeballs, it gets brand recognition, it works. But to your point, Shiv, if you don't have the positioning and you don't have good writing that
yeah,
really nails it down, it's going to get lost in the shuffle no matter how much money you spend.
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, that's it.
The longer those writers have first person relationships with the brand decision maker, they're not
Mhm.
going through four levels at the agency that is then presented to the decision maker. They have the direct relationship with the decision maker throughout the concepting and the making that leads to the best work.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, how do emerging technologies factor into your strategy for streamlining production? And what new tools, if there are any, or platforms, are you most excited about integrating over at Blend?
What's great is that emerging technologies, in my experience, are still learning about the value of storytelling.
Mhm.
It's not everything needs. A lot of times, these guys who own tech companies, in my experience, they're like, "Oh, we'll just get Chat GPT. We'll just get it done quickly." It's no, you need to uh, provide the human being who's viewing the commercial with an emotional connection to your brand. And to do that, you need to do it through crafting the storytelling and crafting the makings. I get excited about working with technology companies because a lot of times it is new for them. When they get to a certain level, they can't rely just on growth through digital channels. They have to imbibe those digital channels with quality storytelling. And then to answer the second part of your question, I think Every day there's new tools regarding AI-driven tools that haven't yet usurped the creative process in my experience, Shiv. It's helping the creative
Yeah.
process. I'm not going to be able to name the technologies off the cuff, but one of them that's helped me already so far is a audio recording AI tools that enhance the audio. When you think you're not getting good audio on set, you're not getting the best. Some of these new AI tools clean it up better than you could ever imagine. You know,
Wow.
and that excites me, and I'm still excited by AI. I guess at the end of the day, it's going to own us all. But at the moment, it's really a creative enhancement. They're creative enhancement tools, and
Yeah.
they're helping the storytellers.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think especially in what you do, it's interesting to hear that there are some people, especially in your industry, that are just like, hey, let AI do it all, which is really interesting. It's just the same thing with the design and the creative process in that regard. Like there's a large human element to what you guys do, and there needs to be an observer, and there needs to be somebody adding the human touch. And I think that's why there will always be inherent value, no matter how insane AI gets, there's always going to need to be that. It's a little different in something like coding where there's a direct input to a direct output, right? So there will always need to be something, but it's cool to hear as well. There's some awesome little AI tools that you guys use to just make your lives a little bit easier.
There are, and I'm glad you brought up design because designers are perhaps the most important. It's so difficult to verbalize how important world-class design is to the content making process, especially with all these AI tools where you can spit out seemingly good-looking stuff, but you need the designers are on the project a lot longer than the content creators than I am. If you're creating a design, if you're designing a new logo, a new style guide, a whole new look for a brand, that's a 6 to 12 month process if you're doing it properly, especially on a global level. And that stuff is far above my pay grade. What gets frustrating for me is when clients try to shove design in at the end of the process, right? They want world-class design done in about a week once you've shot and edited. And that's
Yeah.
not how it works. We can borrow from popular culture, we can borrow from your existing style guide, but design works in subconscious ways. It's persuasive in ways that I'm not even really able to verbalize. I know it when I see it. And I'm working with a new financial services company. I'm not allowed to divulge who it is, but they're coming to us to do video first podcasts. But
Okay.
they spent a year working with one of the best design firms in the country, creating an original brand identity that I then get the pleasure of infusing into all of our video first podcast assets.
Wow.
Not so it's the intro and the outro, the transitions, it's an ownable look. And it takes a long time to get a really good brand identity done.
Yeah.
And and it elevates all of the creative assets.
Yeah. Wow. I never knew that it did like a good job in that regard. Takes 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, for brand identity, it really does because
Yeah.
you have to do a lot of competitive analysis and
Yeah.
you have to really find out what motivates people. And it's difficult to verbalize, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting. And all of that makes your job so much easier.
Yes, sir, it does. Again, that's rare that you get, and I'll share it with you when it comes out. It's rare, and I'd love to do a follow-up with you about that because it does really elevate. I'm not selling design, I'm selling content. And
Yeah.
with great design, I respect it.
Yeah.
And I don't pretend to be all things to all people, and neither do good designers. You can't just have a good brand identity without great world-class content. So it does take a whole team to really stand out in this content saturated world. Every brand is basically a media publisher at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As you were talking, I was thinking about the connection between the Jaguar rebrand and whoever did their commercials. And I'm like, man, I wonder if that production company had a really hard time doing it because every
I
net with just general, a lot of people were like, I don't like this.
think the jury's out. We'll see where the sales are in a year. I know they were trying to recreate everything, but yeah, I do think that would have been a challenging position to be in as a production company.
Yeah, just as good design helps you, bad design also makes your job way harder, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. It does.
Well, Matt, this has been so great. Where can people learn more about you and where can people learn more about Blend?
I have a vibrant channel on LinkedIn. They can find my Matt Bijarchi on LinkedIn. But Blend is weareblend.la, weareblend.la. And I try to leverage the Los Angelesness. I mean, we are a company town. It's easier and more effective to shoot in Los Angeles than it is anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Even though everyone is shooting everywhere else in the world these days.
Yeah.
I love Los Angeles and I always will.
Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, Matt, thanks so much for being on. This is great.
Thank you so much, Shiv. I really appreciate it.